The following podcast is a presentation of Project Entertainment Network.
The fun begins after this message for your enrichment.
I figured out what it all means. I can solve the whole thing. I can fix it all. I just have to explain to people about how men and women are different, but we're the same. And I can destroy the patriarchy, because this is all an illusion.
Yeah, that sounds great, honey, but when was the last time you slept?
You aren't listening to me!
After suffering a psychotic breakdown triggered by the election of a powerful demagogue, Beth follows her husband Jason to a remote cabin where the two try to make their own world in spite of the increasingly volatile political climate. While the couple are trying their best to overcome Beth's break from reality, otherworldly arbiters conspire to change their lives forever.
You can't run anymore, Beth.
What?
You have to die through.
No!
It's the only way out of this.
New from Birdcage Bottom Books, Woods is a horror story that confronts the traumas surrounding a loved one's battles with mental illness, questions the struggle of individual engagement in the collective, and imagines the possibilities of a world that transcends beyond earthly understanding. Woods by Mike Freiheit, birdcagebottombooks.com.
And now, on with the show.
Don't be scared now, but it looks like you just wandered straight into U-Mind country. That's U-Mind, short for unaffiliated mind games, and you ain't never gonna be the same again. Brace yourself. It's time for a red-hot truth injection. Oh yeah, that's right. We're rounding up the sheeple and shaking them awake. You mind? Too damn bad. We're gonna set fire to the wool over your eyes. Feel the burn, baby. Hot damn. We're toppling the lies of the mainstream media one by one. Woo-wee. Watch them bad boys fall. Hey, Universe A. This is Universe B, call it, and we're gonna tear you a new one. You mind?
Everybody, thank you for joining us today. It is me, Napoleon Doom, with Horrorgasm, and today I am here with the Backstage Effects SD. Is that how you
Backstage Artist SD.
Backstage Artist SD, and we're going to go down the line and everybody introduce yourself and kind of give a little bit about what you do. And how about right here with the pink hair?
Hi, so my name is Tess. I work at the La Jolla Playhouse in the costume shop, and I do what's called costume crafts. So I do all of the accessories for the costumes. That means hats, masks, armor, jewelry, shoes, everything. I also do all of the fabric modifications, so all the dye work and a lot of distressing. That means lots of blood usually. So all that stuff is under my purview as well.
Very cool. All right, and over here?
We're a full makeup team specializing in special effects. We do the cement molds, make the foam mask, all the way up to the applications and the acrylic paints and everything that's used in the processing.
Very nice. Okay, guys, I'm really excited to talk to you today because I've always been just like a practical effects junkie. I just loved it. And so it's really exciting to get a chance to talk to all of you guys and really hear how things begin. So I guess the first question I have for everybody here would be, what really fueled your interest in doing special effects, practical effects, things like that? What really sparked that interest? What's the first moment you remember thinking like, oh, that's something I want to be involved in? whoever wants to take the lead.
Or like individually, maybe. Too.
Yeah, go ahead.
But for me, I think what sparked my interest, I mean, first I was originally a painter. I went to school for like painting, and I was a studio art major. And then from there, I was watching a lot of TV show like competition, like Face Off and RuPaul Drag Race, and there's a lot of creative, competition show, and that kind of fueled me. I was like, you know what, like it seemed like something I would be interested in. And then I decided to take a chance. I took a class at San Diego City College. There's a special effect program there that teach like special effects. And from there, the first day I remember taking a class. We were doing old age makeup, and I remember that I knew that that's what I want to do. Yeah. And from there, I just continue with that passion of mine.
Very nice. Cool. So, and how about you, Chris?
I've always been attracted to horror films ever since I was a little kid, and I was always amazed at how they can make it look so real. So I kind of put everything on hold. Owned a hair salon for over a decade, raised a kid, and then it's like, okay, now I have time to like come back to some of the things I wanted to do. And that's when I really started to get into it more.
Mm-hmm. And Joey?
For me, it would have to be, what I remember is when I was a kid, I watched Thriller, the video, and I was more excited about watching the reruns of the making of it as a kid. And watching that really triggered everything. And then I think I started doing regular makeup in 2008, and that's what really opened my mind more. So I've been a makeup artist ever since then. And then special effects came a little bit later. I also took the program as they did. And then from there, I just love it. It's just pretty amazing, and it's different than regular makeup, so it's more challenging. So that's what keeps me on my toes, and there's more pressure, and it's just fun. Period. That's all.
And Tess?
Yeah, so I actually got into costumes after studying acting, and seeing the impact that a costume has on what you're able to do as a performer. And so after that, went to grad school for it. I've just always been really interested in the ways that the things that you wear kind of change the story. And so it's been great ever since.
Very cool. So I always I'm always kind of interested in hearing like things like, talking about Thriller or things that you saw that really inspired you. Are there any standout like films or plays, productions that really something that you aspire to, that's sort of your standard, what you sort of base your work off of, or any, even that's just a motivation for you? I guess we'll start with Tess this time, and then we'll just go. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I always have loved the big like creature films. So anything from Godzilla to, we were just talking about Creature from the Black Lagoon,
Yes.
Which was built by a woman who was also one of the first female Disney animators. So yeah, Creature from the Black Lagoon is always like really inspiring, just because it was one of the first women to be involved in a monster movie.
Nice.
But what I really love about things like Godzilla too, with these big, huge costumes, is that it really changes the shape of a human and the way that a human works. And so that's what I always kind of aspire to, is to almost make a puppet out of a person.
Wow.
So that's the kind of costumes that I'm really interested in. And those big, kaiju movies and stuff like that has always been really inspiring to me.
All right. And then Joey.
For me, it just takes me back as a kid too, watching like the old classic killers like Freddy and Michael and Chucky. Those are like a few of my favorites. So they definitely inspire me for sure. I was always curious of how they did that, and looking for those videos and stuff like that. And that's what I inspire to, I think. Yes.
I grew up watching Creature of the Black Lagoon with my mom as a little kid. So it's like, I absolutely, one day I want to sit down and try to sculpt my version of that because I like it so much. And then when my son was young, they came out with, you know, Freddy and a lot of the others. And I like working with texture, and I found I'm good at working with texture. So anything that, like a flat surface painting, is completely different from working with texture. And I really enjoy it. A lot of the newer stuff has a lot of texture in it.
Cool. And Long?
And for me, I think I grew up in oh, sorry. I grew up in Vietnam, and I think a lot of my inspiration came from actually Asian cinema. And growing up, I watched, like, I don't know, I think the famous one is the Monkey King. I think that just the special effect of it, and you know, that's, I think almost all Asian kids grew up watching that TV show, and I'm definitely inspired by it. And coming to the United States, like being I don't know, being in Western society or whatever, I love to bring kind of my a lot of my aesthetic kind of with kind of my Vietnamese or whatever Asian twist to it somehow. So yeah.
Nice.
So I guess every workday has got to be different for you guys, because you're always working on a different creature, different costume, something like that. But can you run me through like what your basic like game plan for when you show up and you're going to start on a project? So how does that kind of go start to finish? What is your basic process when you're attacking something like this? Do you start with sketches? Do you just kind of walk me through it for each of your techniques? And I guess we started with Tess, and so now we'll start with Long.
Shoot. Okay. Question is, how's the process? So first, I kind of get an idea of what you know, like if I were to work for Christopher, he would tell me like what is like the theme of it, and I first kind of sketch it out a little bit of what I wanted to do, and then from there I just I guess I add color and things like that, and often will depend on what kind of project we do, but if it's gonna be like some kind of math, is often will be like quite a long time. So we have to like make a mold, and then from there we have to like, I don't know how do you say that, like you have to make a mold, and then you have to, there's like a whole process to it, right?
So yeah, you do a sculpture, and then you do the silicone mold around it?
So, yeah. And then, yes, quite a process, but it depends on what kind of project, though.
Well, we had a project last week that was for Horrible Imaginings that we didn't have time to do 2 months of sculpting and making the foam mask and everything. So we used a different type of foam, and Long was actually in charge of one of the creatures, because I brought him in because this was an extreme creature and I knew that he could take care of it, because we were creating like 17 different characters and creatures within 7 days. So I know. That's what I was thinking. I was like, can I bring my team in? And there was
so much pressure.
And so we didn't go through the long process like for a film that we would want to actually do, but it's like we made it work, and we Long brought in a different type of foam that he used and sculpted it on a pre-made face of my face, because I was playing the creature. And then we used we didn't have a body cast mold of me, So we used Joey's form to make the body, and he molded on the body for the body parts of the creature. So
Very nice.
it was a quick version of.
Yeah.
So for me, I think if I was presented with some type of a creature, I would definitely, it would just run in my head of what type of creature, what are the looks. I would ask a lot of millions of questions, but my mind just keeps running and running with everything. So I would definitely do a sketch for sure, depending on what it is, and then run with that. And whatever comes my way, I will implement that into it if I feel like it's right, if I feel like it looks right as well. And that takes me back to a project that we had did in class one time, and we could have done anything. It was a big show. So I decided to do an alien, and it was, and then there was a backstory to it as well. I had a backstory. So it was as a universal alien, it was like male, female, and it was also a form of myself if I was an alien. So it was like a haute couture kind of alien, and Christopher played the alien as well. So, and it came out so amazing. It looked just like my sketch. So it was, it had like a long train, a huge mohawk, everything was black. So that was a lot of fun. So definitely just taking whatever elements that are in my head, what's presented to me. So yeah.
Very nice. And Tess.
Yes, so I work in a slightly different industry.
Yes.
So in the theater, especially at La Jolla Playhouse, we usually do new shows that have never been produced before.
Yeah.
Which is really exciting and fun, and also really difficult because you can't just like Google to see what the other guy did. So we usually start with the script. Everybody in the costume shop will get a copy. We'll all read through it. And I particularly keep an eye out for not only any craft things that I'm going to be building, like if somebody's wearing a mask or something, then obviously I know I have to do that, but also what happens to people throughout the course of the show. If somebody sleeps outside or is running from something and gets injured or something, I need to know that in order to do the distressing on the clothes later. Because that makes such a big difference to be able to see the wear and tear on the costumes to reflect what's happening in the script. So we will get renderings from the designer that we are meant to replicate, and the designer will sometimes have an idea of how to accomplish these things and how they would like these things to be built. Sometimes it's just like, hey, we have this weird thing. It's up to you. So, which is kind of my favorite. So from then on, it's just a lot of collaboration between myself and the designer. And sometimes other departments too will often get props involved, or scenic. We've done shows where we did a show called Squirrels where everyone was a squirrel. So I had to make a bunch of squirrel feet. But there was a point where somebody had to walk through a pool of blood and leave little squirrel footprints in blood. And so that involved a lot of discussion with the scenic artist about because they wanted a white gloss floor and we didn't want anyone to die. So it was, there's always a lot of working between departments to figure out, exactly how much grit you need in this floor, what the consistency of the blood was, I was doing with the shoes. So that was, scenic props and costumes all trying to solve this problem. So that's usually what my day looks like is solving problems, talking with a bunch of other people, and just putting stuff into rehearsal and, troubleshooting from there.
Yeah. Now, what I love about
can I piggyback off of her real quick? Like you said, it's troubleshooting, but also talking to a lot of people. So it's teamwork. I think that's what it really comes down to, is talking to a director, producer, or wardrobe, hair. It's all teamwork. So, and that builds a really good foundation.
I'm really interested because you see like a lot of when it goes well, you see this finished piece and it looks beautiful, and hearing you guys talk about like all the work and all the little bits that go into it, what have been some of your surprise successes that have come out of that you thought like, this is never going to work, we're never going to pull this off, and then you just shocked yourself and it came to pass, or contrary wise, some amazing failures that you will never do again? And I guess we'll start off with Tess this time.
Yes, I actually have the perfect story. We were doing a show called Wild Goose Dreams, which was about the split in North Korea and South Korea, and about a Korean family. And so there was actually a lot of penguin imagery in it, because there is a talk of a penguin dad is a dad who can't provide for his family. And so there was a lot of penguin imagery, and they wanted all these silicone penguin masks for this dad character for some sort of weird dreamy sequences. And there was going to be one sequence where the father is in prison, getting beaten by guards, gets his head dunked in a toilet as a human being, and then comes up out of the toilet as a penguin, and then gets his penguin face shot off. And so we're all cool. Okay.
Sounds like fun.
So that meant that the penguin masks that we're making, that one had to be easy enough to slip on and off, that he can stick his head into it inside a toilet, and then come up, and then have it easily come off and have some kind of blood effect after that. So that whole process, I did not think that was going to be possible. But again, it was collaboration. It was a lot of work between me and the props department. The props department bought a toilet and altered it so that it had an opening underneath, so that a stagehand could hold the mask and kind of shove it up onto the actor's face. And then he came up, mask is on. There's a blood sponge in the top of it, so that when he kind of does this to sort of slough it off, when he gets shot, that there is blood coming down his face. And we were completely stunned. It worked on the first try. We did not think, we thought we were going to be in tech for this stupid scene for like a week straight. And we were incredibly lucky. It was a lot of work. But yeah, you get some weird asks in, in a lot of these businesses.
Some challenges. So I like that. Okay, so then I guess next, Joey, how about you?
A challenge, I would have to say the 7-day project.
Yeah.
It was presented to us different than what it was supposed to be. So then I was actually editing the small clips, scenes, and I'm not a filmographer or an editor. I just started learning how to edit iMovies, and that's due to over the summer I'm going to be coming up with a YouTube channel, by the way.
Nice.
Plug myself in at Joey's World.
All right, at Joey's World, you heard it here.
So I started that, and then he was like, okay, we have 15 minutes to film this and edit it and then send it. I'm like, okay.
Wow.
And most of them I did edit them like in 15 to 20 minutes, and they came out pretty awesome. So that was a challenge and pressure, and I definitely learned from it. So, and that was a lot of fun.
All right. Now, Chris?
Yeah, adding to what he was just saying, the Horrible Imaginings is usually 3 days in the Frida Theater up in Anaheim, and they turned it into virtual this year. And then about 4 days before, I was seeing stuff posted, and I'm like, are you just starting some of the films early, or did you extend the time? He goes, oh, we're doing it for 7 days. And I was like, oh, okay, because usually I'm the mascot and I show up with 3 different costumes, 3 different days. So that's when I said, can I bring my team in? And then after the first night, I was on a live panel, and I realized all the models that we do makeup on, they're going to sit there on this live panel for an hour during a discussion talking about a film that they haven't seen. I'm like, we need to take it up a notch. So I started writing and directing little skits for everybody that we did the makeup on, and that's what he was talking about. Suddenly he was filming and editing, and it was kind of like within the first night and the second day, I decided that. And then all of a sudden the project got bigger. But it turned out really good. But I work well under the pressure, and my mind works well like that. Because I'm used to, we do the theater productions for the Men's Gay Chorus. Oh. And like one of the things that they gave us, like I was like, you realize when you switch these two numbers, you just gave us 4 minutes and 13 seconds to put this guy in full drag on the side of the stage. And he goes, oh, well, just try to make it work. And we did. I had 5 artists working on that person while I was doing changing a headdress and wigs and helping 2 other people change into their costumes.
And you also dancing as well.
Oh, yeah. Then I went out and performed. Like, how? So there's some challenges, but it feels so good after you conquer those challenges, and it's exciting and fun.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Long, how about you?
I think the challenges, definitely go back to the 7-day challenge that I had. It was my second time using the foam clay thing, and you know, I would just I don't know, like I just tried it, and you know, I was like hoping for the best, but it came out good. So I'm quite proud of myself, and you know, it's I don't know, it's. Yeah, I mean, I work kind of good under pressure as well. So I guess it's a lot of teamwork that we had to do as well. So I guess that was one of the big challenges that I faced, and I think we did okay, you know. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Now, what is I'm assuming that in this field of work, because the techniques are always changing, there's always something new coming in. How do you keep yourself fresh? And what are some new things that are coming in that you're really excited to get a chance to work on, if I can ask, if it's not proprietary information? So, and I guess we will start with Long this time, because we're going back and forth.
Okay. Some new thing in the special effect makeup industry, or like
new things, or how do you keep your skills fresh? How do you go to courses? Do you just read up on it? Anything you're excited about? So.
For me, I do. I'm also a makeup artist, so I often like to just do this challenge where at least 2 times a week I will do a makeup, like to just anything really. It can be like glamour, or it can be horror. Be any of those, to keep my my skill kind of like fresh and whatever. And I oftentimes I also meet up with friends that also do art, and we like like to do molding and things like that. So, and also look out for, you know, those Facebook page, and you know, see if anybody need help with certain thing. Maybe I can provide the help as well.
Nice. And Chris?
There's a few people that I will follow on YouTube that are just amazing artists that will trigger different ideas, and I'll save certain pictures when I come across, oh, I like the gills on this one, or I like what they did with the ears on that person. And then later, when something's presented to me, a challenge is presented to me, I'll scroll back through and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to take this, like this design with, change it up from this on an ear, and then I'm going to do a shape of an eye similar to that. Or it's so much fun, but I never know what's going to come at me. Like, I didn't know this was going to be 7 days. I didn't know I was going to change it into filming, which was great. I never know what the next challenge is going to be until it's presented to me. But I think I kind of like that. it's like a surprise, and my mind works well once it's thrown at me. I'm like, oh, well, what's the limit of conservative to how far can I go? And once I know where that limit is, I just jump in and I just go with it.
What keeps me fresh is coffee.
Just
coffee.
Just coffee. Very nice. All right. And,
I think definitely social media, that's a big platform, and we see that a lot, and what's new and what's fresh, and like what can I do to make that even better, or even something similar to that, or even challenging with like getting with friends as well. I know that me and my best friend for next month, we're going to challenge each other to keep it fresh. Each week we're going to present one Halloween look. So yeah, okay. so the first week is going to be Disney villains, and then the following week maybe like a crazy zombie. So something like that keeps us fresh and on our toes, because you know we have our daytime jobs and we still love what we do on the side. So something like that keeps me fresh.
Yeah. Tess, how about you?
Yeah, so in working at the Playhouse, honestly, a lot of what we do is talk to each other, again, between departments. If I have an issue and I'm not sure what material to use to solve it, sometimes I'll just go down to the paints department and I'm like, hey, here's the thing, what have you used that worked? And because there's so many things that are like really common to use in props that are not very common to use in costumes, or vice versa, but that are very flexible, interesting materials to use in a bunch of different ways. So it's really handy to have a lot of people around that do things that are adjacent to what you do, but are not quite that thing. But yeah, social media, I'm always looking at what new creators are doing on Instagram, what kind of, you know, you follow the makers of a lot of these materials too. You've got to follow Smooth On and all that, you know, to see what kind of products they're coming out with next. And the funny thing about theater is that a lot of the time, the simplest, stupidest thing is the best solution, you know. Sometimes it's just like, well, what happens if we put a string on it and then pull it? And then that is easier to do in the moment than it is to, you know, try and like get servos set up or whatever to make a cool effect. So, you know, it's always just trying with what you have on hand, and then asking around to see what's a way for you to do this in a different way. Because like they were saying, you know, sometimes, especially working on new shows, you get a rewrite, there's been a script change, suddenly this scene is in a different place, and now we have no time to do this change. Well, now we've got to start from scratch and have a completely new idea of where to go from this. So it kind of just, the job itself keeps you on your toes, because you never know, again, you're not working in a vacuum. You never know what everybody else is going to come up with. So you have to stay fresh.
Yeah, no. I think that's really exciting. You got me really curious though about like the new materials, and it's something that I want to ask of all of you. What are some unexpected or strange materials that you found yourself incorporating into a look that just wound up working out really well? Like, I don't know, like ramen noodles or something bizarre that you were just like,
Yeah.
why would I do this? But somehow magically it worked. Have you ever had experiences like that? And I guess we'll start with Tess.
I'm trying to think. I mean, the thing about costume crafts is we say that it's about 50% fabric store and 50% Home Depot. And so because it's sometimes you're making like a fancy pretty hat for a fancy pretty lady, and then sometimes you're like building a mech suit and you just need a bunch of garbage. We just did a show called Fly that was a Peter Pan story. And so a lot of the designs were very inspired by childhood and toys and things like that. And so we're over here me and my assistant in the craft room were sitting in like a literal pile of garbage with just playing with like, okay, well, what if this Coke can goes, you know, uses that with his sword, and then what if we'll make this out of Legos, and so it was a really fun process of just pulling together a bunch of stuff. But there's been plenty of times where I will just go to Home Depot and kind of walk down the aisles and grab, you know, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, I don't know. And then the guy always comes by to ask you what you're making, and it's like, you can't help me. So yeah, it's just you never know. Sometimes it's literally just like a piece of trash you see on the floor. It's like, oh, that's the perfect shape for this thing, you know. You never know.
Very fun. And Joey, how about you?
Oh God, I'm trying to think of a time that I think I definitely go to like thrift stores. That's always a lot of fun to find something weird and odd.
Yeah.
Where else? What else can you guys think of? I'm trying to think of a time when I just needed something weird and odd. I can't really think of something. Take it, Chris, because you're always about.
Well, last week I found myself in thrift stores grabbing different things that I could turn into the costumes for the models. And one of the things I did was I was the head from The Brain That Wouldn't Die. And so I'm like, we're driving around, I'm like, I need a cardboard box, you know, to make the laboratory table. And then I went to a thrift store and I grabbed stuff that looked like it was black and chrome, looked like it was like, there was a bottle opener from the 50s. I turned it upside down, stuck it in a piece of cardboard that came out of my blow dryer box, spray painted it a different color, and hot glue gunned it on, you know, to create tubes and wires and, you know, and such. Also, like one of the zombie walks, I wanted intestines one year. So I took a nylon stocking and I put rice in it and put rubber bands, and then I poured latex over it. Well, I went to move it and the latex wasn't dry yet. And at first I'm like, oh no, I'm changing the shape. And I'm like, oh no, the shape looks better now. So I used that idea for Henrietta fruit seller lady's legs from Evil Dead 2 last week. I took a styrofoam piece that I bought at Michael's, and then I put cotton all around the edges and poured latex over it. So when I pulled the styrofoam out, the cotton stayed in. Certain areas tore a little when I went to put it on, which was perfect because then my skin showed through, and I created Henrietta's legs. So you just kind of go with it, you know. You just kind of go with it, and it's whatever pops into your head. Yeah. You know, nobody knew I had a bottle opener there on the laboratory table. I had tubes and wires connected to it.
It just all came together. That's amazing. And Long, how about you? And anything that pops into your head?
So I think for me, I like to do a lot of time, I guess, like say a little bit, like I feel like a lot of time if you were to like have some kind of project where you only need like a certain amount of like space, you need like a full costume like for it. If I want to take a selfie and just want to show my look, you know, so a lot of time I will paint clothes on myself and, you know, make it like, you know, texture, you know, all this kind of look, you know, with enough filter, it will look good. And then what else? I think this one material, I saw it in a lot of time, like this like metal material I'm trying to work more of. It's just, it's basically those metal printing paper that like it looked like metal when you put on yourself. It looked like you have like some kind of like full like metal outfit, but it's just, you know, a piece of paper with like metal axes or like metal color on it. And yeah, a lot of time it's just it's just me painting myself in this area for a lot of my looks, you know, and yeah.
Yeah, when I saw your one look, I went and I showed it to Joey, and I'm like, look did he put falsies on? And he goes, no, it's paint. And I'm like, oh, the clothes you were wearing, everything was painted on. I didn't even know. It was it was amazing.
For me, is that the lazier it is, the more comfortable I am, the better.
Now, if you can share without getting yourself in trouble, are there any horror stories, like a model who neglected to tell you they're allergic to latex, or somebody who just got sick on set, or costumes that just fell apart at the most inappropriate time? Anything that you can recall that happened like that? And I guess we'll start with Tess. Or we can start with whoever finds that awakening in their mind first. So.
I'll go first this time.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah.
For me, I think it was go back to one of the project we had in class. We have spent like so many months working on this mold for like this monster to show, and at the very last minute, my mask didn't work, so I had to come up with a different option. So, and then I used foam clay to make a lot of my looks for it. So I guess that's what does that answer the question?
Yeah. Just the mask. So what went on with the mask that made it not work for you?
It just didn't come right, and there's way too many holes, and it was when I thought about it in my brain, it worked, but when it actually like molding it and like to making it a foam mat, it just didn't look the way that I wanted it. So I have to come up with a whole different like even looks, for it. So I mean, and then the easier, I guess, was better. Like not everything has to be so structured and like this and that, So yeah.
Very cool. So, anybody else or no?
I've not had anybody allergic to latex. I will usually ask before I put latex on somebody.
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't had anything like that. It's working with different materials that you're not used to working with. Like the foam he's talking about. I had never worked with that foam before we were doing this project last week. So I really liked the way that it worked for the mold that he did on the face. And the molds turned out perfect for the body. But I found it didn't stick to clothing very well. So now I know for the next time, I mean, we made it work, use a hot glue gun and some safety pins and, filming, the right angles and everything. But now I know for the future, okay, don't try to glue this to the material. It's not going to stick, Yeah.
For me, it was that one time when you were my alien and I was so frustrated because the glue that we tried to use, it wasn't staying for the mask. Well, it was more of a, what was it?
Silicone mask was so heavy.
Yeah, the silicone mask that I had made. And it was like half a face, but it just wasn't staying. And then we needed to have nostrils put in as well because he could barely breathe. It was a two-piece actually, and it was sliding. I was like, no! But we made it work, and he was a trooper to keep it on practically almost all night. And he was also in some heels that I broke off the back of the heel, so it was heelless. And that was a big challenge as well mostly for him.
Learning how to walk on my tippy toes the whole time.
Yeah.
Wow.
I dance, so it's like a little easier. Now I've turned those shoes into hoof shoes for another creature, and I'm used to walking around in them now. But I was standing at gas stations pumping, and I stand up on my toes just to get my arch, my ankles used to the pressure. To be strong enough to walk in those. They make the actual shoes to be able to walk like that. Yeah. But these were just high heels with no heel.
Very interesting. And Tess, anything you'd like to share on that subject?
I mean, in a way, doing theater is kind of just a series of disasters that you have to iron out before you because there's you can't do another take. It has to all be able to flow in one 2-hour period. So a lot of the time it's stuff that worked really well when we were in the costume shop, you know, trying to work on stuff. And then we get it on stage, and with the lights and the props and the scenic elements and the actor, it's not quite doing what we expected. It's usually comes down to some sort of communication error. I know we've done shows where there was one show where our costume designer wanted us to do a business logo on a necklace for a woman who owned a bakery. And so I came up with a little logo and made a little necklace. And then I go down to props, and they have a whole other logo all over their cakes. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's designers should have spoken to each other. Yeah. So it ends up being a lot of stuff like that, but we rehearse the hell out of everything. So usually there's time to iron out all those issues before we actually have an audience. Although the other secret of theater is that shit's going wrong literally constantly backstage. And I've sat in the audience before and seen on our show Diana about Princess Di, she had a pair of shoes that needed to be quick rigged so she could change in and out of them really quickly, because the whole show was just Diana changing her dresses over and over and over again. And so she had a dance sequence, and either there was something wrong with the shoe or the wardrobe didn't quite get it on her well enough. But the flap of holding her shoes together was just like flying around on stage as she's desperately trying to dance. And I'm just watching there like, did I do that? Is that my fault? So, but you know, most of the audience probably didn't really notice. She did a great job, but you know, it's when you are so deeply in it, you see every little thing and you're like, ooh, uh-oh.
Yeah. That's very cool.
I absolutely agree with that. I'm not good at putting false eyelashes on, but there was a theater production. This guy, one of his eyelashes wouldn't stay on, so I found myself in a chair behind him, upside down with a blow dryer, because he has to run out to stage, and that thing, I wanted it on, you know. So, and it did stay on, but I was on the side watching. I'm like, please don't fall off, please don't fall off. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I think
do notice it.
That's the fun part about being backstage, is anything can happen. There's so much pressure. There's so much going on. There's so much energy as well. But that's, I think, we can all agree, like, that's just what fuels us up, is all that energy. And we have so much fun, and we love it so much.
Yeah. I guess I asked because I was working on a set where we just had an obstinate actress who just was trying to cause trouble. She'd be like, I'm allergic to latex. We're like, okay, we'll use gelatin. Oh, I forgot to mention I'm vegan. And we're like, okay, so we'll use foam. And then we're just kind of, we're going down the line, and I wound up finding a photo shoot of her online where she's like fully in latex and stuff. And we're like, you're just being a brat.
Difficult.
Have you guys ever had any people who you had to costume, who you had to work with, who you were just not really feeling it, or they weren't engaged or anything like that? And of course, if that's going to get you in trouble, you can skip that question.
I
was going to say the answer is yes, but I don't know what I can say about it.
Say it. I think when we were doing the 7-day thing, we had a model that was supposed to be here, and she was supposed to be a zombie pinup girl, and she was just like not responding. And then we had about 25 minutes
before we had to send it,
or less than 30 minutes before we had to send in the small clip. And I was like, okay, she's gonna be here, she's gonna have her makeup on, or she's gonna be ready. And meanwhile, I'm doing a different model's makeup, and she was just like, I can't make it. I was like, we have 23 minutes to film this and edit it and send it. Wow. So we had 30. And so I basically, I'm like, okay, I will be a drag model / pinup girl zombie. So it's all filmed as well. So I'm literally painting my face. I'm like, go look up in the attic, get my pink polka dotted dress, or find something, get the wig. He's doing the wig, I'm getting ready, I found a bra, I found some heels, I'm just like this pinup girl, and then we film it, and then I edit it super quick, and then it was just chaotic.
You look so good too.
No, I look a mess.
I thought you showed me those videos. I thought it was like those vlogs.
So, but it worked out. But anything can happen, and somebody can just be like, no, I cannot make it. So some people are just not reliable, I guess.
I'm used to working with brides over the years, so that right there kind of helps me. You know, there was one time I was doing their wig and their makeup for performance for the theater, and I said, now I studied this picture, these different pictures intensely. She does not wear black eyeliner. She wears dark brown eyeliner. Well, I need black because I'm right ahead and I need to pop from the back. I'm like, okay, we can do that. And then I'm like, now I specifically studied the type and style of the false eyelash. So here I've got that. I have permanent ones on. I can't wear false eyelashes. I'm like, okay, you just sort of take a breath and okay, and you just kind of go with it, because what are you going to do? You know, I wasn't going to argue with her. You know, I'm like, okay, we'll just make it work. You know, and because I've dealt with brides on their special day, even when they're under that pressure, they'll tend to be a little bit more, no, I can't do that. No, you know, so you just sort of go with it. And I mean, after we got past that, everything was great and we got along fine, but I had to take a breath and okay then, you know, and we just kind of go that direction.
I think you also have to be a little bit firm with certain people, because remember, you're the authority, like you're the makeup artist, you're the professional. In certain situations, be like, this is what we're gonna do. This is my professional opinion. So you got to be a little bit firm with either a bride or a client or someone of that sort to let them know that you're also in charge as well. So you have to find a medium, a balance.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Long, anything to share?
I feel like I have so many, but I really couldn't think of any right now in my brain. But yeah, I feel like I have come in contact with many people, but for some reason I couldn't think of any right now.
No worries. Now, if I know that there's probably people out there who would love to have you work on their cosplays or their Halloween costumes. It might be a little late for Halloween costumes, but just different things. How can people get in touch with you? What's the process? Where can we find you if we're interested in reaching out to you? I guess Tess over here, we'll start with you.
Sure. I have a website that I have not updated in a very long time, but if you want to see what I was doing 2 or 3 years ago, you can go to tessmatraw.com, tessmattraw.com. And from there you can contact me if you want, even just, you know, if you want to talk about the industry, if you want advice on how to, you know, make a break into it and everything, please get in touch. We love to talk about what we do. So
hey, very nice. And Joey?
So there's different avenues for myself. I also have a website, so that is joeysworld.com, and that's with a Z in the middle. And then I also have my Instagram at Joey's World, and I don't have a Facebook. Took that down. I feel like I just didn't need it anymore. And I will be very soon to YouTube. So you can find me on YouTube with Joey's World, and any hashtag with Joey's World as well. So it's pretty easy. Joey's World.
There you go. Chris.
BackstageArtistSD.com has a number of our artists. It's very well put together. I paid somebody to do it because that's not my area. We also have an Instagram and a Facebook page, and my phone number is posted on there as well. And then usually if somebody contacts us and tells me what they're looking for, I do all the back and forth, and then I'll either decide which artist I think might be the best for that, or I make an announcement to the team and see who's available to do this or that, and then set it up that way.
Nice. And
For me, I do have a website, but I believe it's kind of under like
Construction?
Construction. Or, like, I think I did it, but like anyways, it's I'm a mess. It's I think what's Long Win Makeup is my website, and also, but mostly you really want to the best place to contact me is through Instagram. Is Makeup with Long, and also on Facebook, Makeup with Long as well.
Nice. Okay, guys, thank you so much for being here today. It was so much fun hearing from all of you, and I hope you're having a lovely evening today.
Thank you
right.
very much.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
It's nice
Bye.
meeting you both.
Bye.
Special thanks to Tess Mitra, Christopher Olson, Joey Alvarez, and Long Nguyen. TessMitra.com is where you go if you want to check out Tess's stuff, and BackstageArtistSD.com is where you go if you want to check out the other crew. Head on over to birdcagebottombooks.com/products/woods if you want to check out that beautiful, wonderful comic book that we advertised right at the top of the show. We couldn't start our show off without Savage C. Walnar, our legendary announcer. Thank you so much, Savage. We love what you do. And the You Mind theme song is brought to you by Ethan Meixsell, because he composed it. It's called Demilitarized Zone, and it'll get your toes a-tapping. Probably. You can go to patreon.com/lucidnap if you are interested in supporting the show and becoming a Patreon, or you can do a small one-time donation at buymeacoffee.com/lucidnap. It helps us out so much. You can also go to lostbreadcomic.com, and you can buy arts and stickers and prints and all sorts of good stuff that you can share. You know, Christmas is a-coming, and Hanukkah too, so you might want to check that out to pick up some presents for those who you love. Or are you just, you know, trying to get rid of and trying to get them off your back? You gotta buy them a present because, like, they're family. Anyway, follow us, yes. And check out Creeping Wave Radio. Creeping Wave Radio is our amazing audio drama. We use a lot of the local San Diego talent, a lot of performers, a lot of musicians that are in the area and beyond, in fact. And it's really kind of a fantastic thing. We're going into our 3.5 season, 3.5, and yeah, but you know what? Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Whatever it is you're doing today, we love that you're doing it, because we couldn't do this without you doing that. So, hey, you know what? Awesome. And you know who we love so much is our Patreons, the Grammarica Show, Nikki Benfield, and the lovable Neil, who fill our hearts with joy and our pockets with, you know, cash. The U Mind is brought to you by Lucid Nap Productions in cooperation with the Scary Old Man.
I'm not that scary.
Don't
I don't
be silly.
try to be, but I just am.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Every person's story has something to teach us. How others view life, how obstacles are overcome, how joy is felt, how fears are faced, how love is expressed. The Matters of Faith podcast explores individual stories of people's lives and how faith plays a part. It may not be your story, but it may help shape yours.
The Matters of Faith podcast with Jay Wilburn is on Project Entertainment Network.
This has been a presentation of the Project Entertainment Network.